Jubilee's video, Amanda Seales versus Conservatives, has racked up millions of views in the last week alone. She really dives into aspects of our educational landscape that we want to press into today, particularly in light of the Supreme Court ruling around race and admissions. Research from the Brookings Institution shows that when students of different races have the same academic preparation, enrollment gaps disappear. But when the academic preparation varies, we see those disparities in academic enrollment, meaning a Black student, like example for Maya, coming out of an inner city Philadelphia school, there's not as many going to top institutions, not because they're not brilliant or smart. It's simply because the education quality is not the same, and they're not able to demonstrate rigor in the way that students are able to when they go to these elite institutions, these elite private schools, with all of this preparation and what keyword funding money that goes into it.
We need education. Getting a check from the government is not going to do that. And we need proper education. A lot of us go to these institutions where we're not really prepared, we're not really focused, and we don't get things that'll help us in the real world.
We're seeing with the conservatives is that they're putting the onus on Black people to basically figure it out without acknowledging the systematic barriers and structures that kept us out.
Redlining doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying I don't think it really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist, and stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact, and there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve.
I grew up in the Philadelphia school district system, and growing up in this system throughout my entire career, I thought that I had the grades, I had the GPA to be able to secure all the things that I needed financially for college, and even have the academic rigor that I thought I needed because I graduated high school with A's and B's and a very high GPA. However, when I did get to college and I got to undergrad, I was studying as a math major, which is a very rigorous major. Growing up in middle school and high school, math was my favorite subject, and it was something that I was really, really good at. So when I got to college and I realized that the math wasn't mathing and I wasn't doing good at math, I thought it had something to do with me. But what I really recognized is that it wasn't on me, but it was just the simple fact that being raised, particularly in that system, I did not get all the quality of education that I needed to know how to sustain myself once I got to college and I was in a very vigorous academic major. Amanda here points out that school funding is directly connected to property taxes.
Why does this matter? Well, education investment is dependent upon those property taxes. And due to redlining, Black schools, or I'll say communities with predominantly Black students, did not get the funding they needed for the quality of education that those students needed to succeed.
37% of young Black adults enrolled into college compared to 41% nationally. And why? This is because the K-12 system does not have the same opportunities and resources as their counterparts.
Chicago is seeing all-time low rates of Black and Hispanic enrollment, and it's the same for medical schools across the country.
Systematic racism is real. 26% of Black adults hold a bachelor's degree in comparison to 35% in the U.S. nationally.
This is because of decades of underfunded schools to admissions policies that are awarding privilege.
Systemic racism against white people and against East Asians as well. It's affirmative action or even race-conscious admissions as taking race as one of the factors in whether or not you're going to admit a student. And we noticed that when race-conscious admissions was out of it, Black enrollment dropped 64%. At UC Berkeley. And that is an act of systemic racism. Trying to look at people's races and allow them into colleges whether or not they're of a set race is racism. And it's race conscious. And Martin Luther King's most famous quote is that he doesn't want his children to be judged based on race, but by the content of their character. And the content of people's characters also includes merit.
The Supreme Court decision to ban race conscious admissions is essentially saying, hey, we're not going to acknowledge the structural difference or the structural issues that have caused these academic differences. What so many colleges like my alma mater, Princeton, have done, not saying there are still issues and racism within PWIs, but what a lot of schools have attempted to do is create these pre-college programs in the summer to bring students from disadvantaged backgrounds to help them catch up academically, again, because they're demonstrating the potential. They are demonstrating the rigor to the extent that they were able to do it in their high school, but high school A in inner city Philadelphia was not high school B in Sacramento, California. Different quality, but great, same, brilliant students with equal amount of potential.
Actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen numerous instances where there were things created for Black people to advance and they were taken back under the auspices of, we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate it right now.
It's key and it's important for a child to start as early as possible to strategically prepare for college admissions. If I can go back to my younger self in 8th grade who had everything that she knew she wanted to do, I would ensure that once I started 9th grade, that I would have started my college admissions process, because waiting until junior year, I was burnt out and I still did not have everything that I need to secure what my future would look like once I even got into college.
While Black communities are still extremely resourced in our schools, are still suffering from a lack of funding, the fact is we can leverage the increasingly democratized access to education online. From SAT prep to ACT prep to students that have gotten into these top schools sharing on YouTube what they did to get in. It's really important to educate you and your student on what is required to bridge the gap and get creative about how to fill the gap. You don't necessarily have to spend thousands of dollars in consultants or coaches in order to fill that gap. And for those of you in the middle or upper middle class Black community that can afford it, it's now more important than ever to invest in these coaches and consultants early on to give your student that competitive edge. In addition to that, merit scholarships are not just about GPA and test scores. Though those are a major prerequisite, it's also about the ability to demonstrate leadership. I was in my freshman year sociology class, and I'll never forget, my professor was breaking down what made a sociologist a great sociologist. And she said the best sociologists, in fact, the founders of sociology, found themselves on the fringes of society, albeit they were still white men, but a lot of them were Jewish men that were excluded from a class of belonging and inclusion. And what that meant is they were able to see problems in society and analyze society. I'll never forget, I sat there thinking, saying, well, then every Black student is a sociologist. Every Black person is a sociologist, because we know what it's like to be on the fringes. When you're able to see the problems in society, you're also able to then brainstorm solutions because you're close to that pain. You're close to that problem. And so our encouragement to Black students is to think critically about the problems you're seeing in your community and look to ways that you can demonstrate leadership to solving those problems in your community. This is exactly what I did. I founded my high school's first African American culture club. I was awarded a certificate for the Princeton Prize in Race Relations. We saw a curriculum change. We got pedagogy reformed. We got diversity training for staff, for teachers, because I experienced so much racism in school. And we were responsible for seeing the first accredited African American history course in our school. All of this made my college application extremely compelling. I earned 8 full rides. Why? Because I demonstrated leadership. Yes, I had the GPA. My test score wasn't as high, but merit is also about, in getting into these elite colleges, is also about that leadership aspect. So as a community, we can still leverage where we're strong. We may be underfunded, in academic resources, but we're not underfunded in vision and creativity and innovation and leadership. So you can still make the most. The way that this dichotomy is set up in this video is false. Yes, there are systematic issues, but there are also real things that we can do as individuals and as families to bridge the gap while we're still waiting for this country to get it right.
If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to our channel, as well as book a free strategy session below to see how we can support you and your family to strategically prepare early for the college admissions process.
Talk to you soon.